attendees are in listen-only mode.
Okay, welcome everyone. My name is Corey Nicoletti and I'll be moderating this session for the course Showcase track. This session is Empowering Faculty, Sleek, and Effective Lesson Pages Made Easy for Hybrid and Online Courses. Before we begin, just a few housekeeping details. This session is being recorded. You'll receive an email announcement once these recordings are available. If you have any questions during the session, please type them into the questions box in the GoToWebinar panel. The presenter for this session is Christy DeCarlis. Christy is an instructional designer at Rutgers University in Camden. She works with instructors to assist in the development of robust, hybrid, and online courses in Sakai, in addition to utilizing technology in the traditional classroom. Prior to becoming an instructional designer, Christy taught high school history and trained colleagues in utilizing technology in the K-12 classroom. Christy?
Thanks, Corey. Hi, everyone, and thanks for coming. I'm going to dive in, since our sessions are pretty short today, and talk to you about lessons pages and our hybrid and online course templates that we use at Rutgers Camden. So I think if you've worked with lessons pages, you'll probably agree that lessons pages are pretty great, but there are a couple issues with them that we've come to grapple with. For new users, the general purpose of the tool can be kind of unclear. If you're picking out tools when you're creating a course site, what the heck does lessons mean? The new page help text seems to stump users, at least the ones that I've worked with. And a lot of people, when they're first confronted with a lessons page, it's almost like they're too free. They don't know how to structure the pages or how to create new lessons pages after they have their initial lessons page created. So our solution at Rutgers University in Camden, especially in developing hybrid and online courses, is that we use Sakai site templates with lessons page structure that's already been set up for the faculty member, so it becomes more of an editing process. So what do I mean by a Sakai site template? We use it a little bit differently than, that term a little bit differently than people in other institutions. I don't mean templates in the CK editor, which if you were attending sessions from Oxford, maybe you might have heard a little bit about that. We don't mean site templates that faculty can choose from when they're creating a new site from My Workspace. What we do mean is fully set up Sakai sites that we can duplicate and hand off to faculty. So they're sites that we've created that are kind of like course shells, and we actually hand these off to faculty ourselves after faculty have worked with us, so we can show them how to use that. These are the goals that we had in creating the site templates. The main part is that we really want our students to benefit from this. We want consistency in structure and navigation across courses. Now, do all of our online courses and hybrid courses use these site templates? No. There's no real way that we can enforce that here. But if we can get the majority of them using the templates, that's something. We want clear structure and navigation for the online and hybrid student to model QM standards. We want to minimize student clicking and scrolling to find information. So from a student perspective, that feeling of being lost in an online course and feeling like you can't find something, that can often be quite difficult. We want to encourage accessibility, so I'll show you some of the features that we build into the templates to do that. And for the biggest part for us is that we want to encourage faculty independence and ease of use. And this is a question that comes up for me a lot when I'm attending different Sakai sessions, is that I want to know what went into creating this. Can a faculty member do this themselves? If the answer is no, then it is not good enough for me. I'm a little bit snobby about it. So what does this mean for the lessons pages and the site template, all those goals? What do those goals lead to? I only have created in the site template what I believe faculty can replicate on their own. So that means I don't add CSS to lessons pages. We don't have divs or other HTML used within the lessons pages either. And we use the lessons pages as much as possible within the site templates to maintain consistency in how the faculty work with the content in Sakai. So for example, you'll see that we use a lessons page instead of using the syllabus tool, because you can add content the same way on that page than if you use the syllabus tool, you're adding content in a different way. So if we can maintain consistency with how the faculty members can use content, or add content rather, then that's going to make the process a little bit easier for them. There's also not one set template. So we have a number of different ones for different types of semesters that we have. Maybe a summer semester is a little bit more condensed than a fall or a spring semester. Or maybe the faculty member just comes to us and they want to structure their online course slightly differently. So we don't force faculty into using one site template. We will work with them to customize it, but we'll create that template, that shell, and then hand it off to them. So now I'll talk a little bit about the site basics. So in this original image, you'll see that we typically structure the Sakai sites with multiple lessons pages down the left-hand menu. So those might be units, they might be chapters, they might be weeks in the course, depending on how the faculty member wants to structure their course and how they structure it in their syllabus. The intro and syllabus page is also a lessons page. As I mentioned before, we don't use the actual syllabus tool for the most part in adding the syllabus because we can add different types of content to the lessons page pretty easily. So we have a subpage where the instructor can put introductory information about themselves, perhaps a photo or a video. Using this lessons page, we can link to a general course questions forum. And then with our template, we also provide the faculty with a syllabus template designed for hybrid and online courses that they can choose to adopt if they wish. We also have a page for a course schedule. So I know there is a schedule tool in Sakai that the faculty members can set up. For the most part, we don't see faculty members using the schedule tool. Rather than, if the discussions or the quizzes are automatically added to that, perhaps then they're using it. But with a full schedule fleshed out here, it's a page that the students can easily reference to see what's due that week, what they have to read about, some things that might not necessarily be added to the schedule tool. Most importantly are the unit or weekly pages. So again, this might be different depending on who we're working with or what semester they're designing a course for. So each of the unit pages looks generally the same. There's a space for a heading, the dates, learning goals in the unit, readings that they can list. We provide an area for the lecture. Usually we'll provide a subpage for the lecture because a lot of times there might be a number of videos that the faculty members are sharing, and then that can lead to longer load times of the unit pages. So it's nice to keep those on a subpage, and I'll show you how that's structured in a little bit as well. And then we also have an area for assignments. So you can see how this is structured. And again, what we're trying to encourage with faculty is we're trying to kind of show them when they're creating a hybrid or online course, here's how you can add structure to your course and demystify things for students. So like I said earlier, I think a lot of times when the faculty are encountered with lessons pages, they're not sure what to do with it or how they can make the goals clear. Because obviously moving from a face-to-face to teaching online can be a little bit mysterious sometimes in how they're going to get the goals and the messages and the assignments across to students. And each of the unit pages essentially looks like this. So with this method, the faculty can go in and they can just edit each text box or discussion or quiz or whatever it may be, and they can replace the dummy text that's already there for them and put in their own text. And I mentioned earlier as well that we're trying to encourage accessibility. So if you look at this image, when I took this screenshot, the cursor was in the Unit 1 topic title area, and you'll notice right above it that the style that's chosen is heading 1. So if a faculty member is going in here and editing this page, then if they just highlight Unit 1 and replace it with their text, their unit title for this unit is automatically going to be in the heading 1 style. So even if a faculty member doesn't know that they should be using that style, it's already kind of built in for them, and they don't necessarily have to know the details about how to make things more accessible because it's kind of created for them already. So the heading styles are built in throughout, and you'll see when I show you a lecture page that it also gives instructions about alt text. So here's an example of the first unit subpage. So if I skip back real quick, you'll see under lecture, there's lecture topic 1. If you were to click on that subpage in the course shell, you'll find some information about, how you might structure the lecture. So this page is kind of advice for faculty that it's meant for them to replace with their actual lecture topic. So it gives them some ideas what they can include in their lecture. Text with images, maybe videos, Word or PDF documents, and it also gives them a little bit of direction in how to add those things in Sakai. So oftentimes the add content menu can be a little bit mysterious to people as well. They're not sure which option to use, if they want to add a YouTube video or if they want to link to a PDF. So this page explains that for them. And it also gives them an example of what a created lecture might look like. Again, using everything that they can do. So it's an embedded YouTube video using the embed content on page. All of this stuff are things that faculty can replicate. So how does this change things? How does using these templates change things? So what I have on the screen here is a Spanish course that has been taught online for the past year, multiple semesters, and this course was developed without a Sakai site template. So this is the screenshot of the course, what it looked like, what the chapter 1 page looked like before using the template. So it's a very, very long page. It goes on for a while. There's a lot of videos on here. You can see they're not using subpages. There are assignments on here, but they're a little bit difficult to distinguish amongst the other texts. And it's a little, a little heavy with colors. You're not using heading styles, so accessibility might be difficult. And what I did is I worked with this faculty member to create a site template for her. And what it ended up with was a page that looked like this. So when we created her template, this page is now filled out, but before she worked with it, it didn't have the information that you'll see. All it had was each text box. So it had week at the top, the tutorials and quizzes section. It had the subpage ready to go. It had an area for assignments, but none of those things were listed. Once we handed the site off to the faculty member, she was able to input the assignments and the information that she needed based on the template that was already there. And she let us know after using this template, which she's still using today, that she received a lot fewer questions about how to find content, when stuff was due. The students didn't feel as confused in the site.
Christy, I had a relevant question that actually goes well with those slides. Would you like me to hold it off till the end, or?
Oh, I can
Okay, so
answer.
you partially answered it. The question was, how big is your institution and number of faculty, and do they have the option to create their own course sites? And it seems that that's the case. And if so, how do you make them use your template site? So you said you worked with this faculty member, but what brought them to you? How did you, say, hey, you need to, we need to make some changes?
That's a good question. So I'm at Rutgers University in Camden. So Rutgers University has 3 different campuses, I guess I could call them, and Camden is the smallest. We have about 6,000 undergrads. Probably our number of faculty is hard to pinpoint, maybe 300 or 400 that I work with. So I'm an instructional designer for really the majority of the campus, and it's myself and my director in our department. So part of the reason why we would like to use these templates is that unfortunately there's no way that we have adequate staff to fully design each of the sites from start to finish. So we want to be able to empower the faculty to do it on their own, and a lot of times they want to do it on their own as well. So that's about the size of our institution. Our School of Arts and Sciences especially worked to create a contract in which faculty are provided a stipend to develop courses. And if they're provided that contract, then they often they do have to work with our department in creating the online course. The contract doesn't stipulate that they have to work with this template, but when they come to us, we'll offer it to them. And most of the time people take it. So I haven't really had a situation where someone was like, oh no, I'm just going to come up with it on my own. Other times, if we also serve as general Sakai support for our campus, if people are having questions about technical issues with Sakai. So other times, if people are teaching online and something is not behaving properly in Sakai and they're not using a template, we could use that time to reach out to them and suggest perhaps in a future semester that we redesign their course to fit in with a template. So there are a couple different ways that we're able to kind of get to faculty and give this site to them, because they can create their own course site. So that was part of the question as well. They can generate it themselves when they're creating it, and there's no way that they can get to this template without working with us. So it is important that we do have that communication, and we're able to reach faculty in a couple different ways so that we can get this out there. Okay, so how exactly do we hand the templates off to faculty if they can't get to it themselves? So we have kind of a process that we go through. All the site templates are housed in my department, the Department of Instructional Design and Technologies, staff Sakai accounts. And so that's two people. The staff would be myself and my director, and we're both listed as instructors in those templates. So once we have a faculty member that we want to meet with, who's developing an online or a hybrid course and needs assistance, we meet with the faculty and we show them the template. If they're interested in it, then we show them how to use it. And then through site info, we duplicate the template from our accounts. We add the faculty member as an instructor to the new site, and then we remove ourselves as instructors from the site. So that's kind of our handoff process. I know a lot of people use the import tool over site duplication, but we really rely on the site duplication method to hand off these things to the faculty. Just one last note, the course template also provides a good opportunity to provide instructional material to faculty about teaching online in Sakai. So you'll notice at the bottom of the screenshot, there's a link to a web content item, which is just a web page on my department's website that shows faculty about teaching online in Sakai. So designing an online course and teaching an online course can be two kind of different things. So using Sakai to design a course, building quizzes, building lessons pages, those tasks are very different from grading discussions, grading assignments, reading quiz results. And the Teaching Online in Sakai page, which comes with all of the templates, allows the faculty to watch videos. It provides them some video instruction on how to do things like grade discussions, provide feedback on assignments, and the like. And now I think we have a few minutes left for questions. So if there are other questions coming in, Corey, could you please let me know?
Absolutely. We did have a comment earlier that mentioned your the help page when you first open up lessons. They said the new help page is terrible. Why not just a pop-up? So just a little comment there. And we had another comment from Dave Eveland, who is at Johnson University. I just worked with him earlier today. He said the Teaching Online in Sakai web content tool. Hey, we do this too. And we did have a question come in. Is it hard to reuse the developed online course with a new instructor?
Okay, so first, before I get to the question, I just want to comment, Dave, I think it was you who, that Teaching Online Sakai, it used to be a lessons page, and I think it might have been Dave who pointed out to me earlier in the year that it should be a web content item so it could be dynamic. And I was like, obviously it should be. And then so all of ours got changed to thanks to Dave, now it's a web content item. It used to be a lessons page, but then we can't change those after the fact, after they've been duplicated. So this is much better. Thank you, Dave. And then the question about, is it hard for other instructors to use this? Was that the question, Corey?
Yes. Is it hard to reuse the developed online course with a new instructor?
I don't think so. So when we're using the course with a new instructor who's never taught it before, typically they get pointed to us to even get a copy of the course. There's no real way for them to get a copy of the course without coming to us. So we usually use that opportunity to sit down with them and show them around the course site, show them how it's been set up. And it's almost like the same thing as going through the site template with an instructor. The only difference is now this instructor has content that they actually have to go through as well. And at least at Rutgers Camden, if a faculty member or an adjunct or whomever is teaching a course that was developed by someone else, they are allowed to change that content. So we just kind of go through what that content is with them, how to access it, and then show them how to make the changes that they want. But we haven't encountered huge issues with showing people how to make those changes.
Okay, we have one more question just pop in. Have you made any custom changes to your version of Sakai, or would it be easy to share your template with the larger Sakai community? And a follow-up to that, would you encourage each institution to build their own templates from scratch?
So I can see it being difficult for some institutions to build them from scratch, let me back up with that a second. I could see it be difficult for some people, for some institutions to use the same process that we do, because I know in some cases, like I think Dave was saying in his session, the Sakai site is generated as soon as the course is generated. So you might not have that ability to kind of meet with the faculty before then hand them off a template. I do have a kind of guest template account set up on our instance of Sakai. So if you want access to it, please feel free to shoot me an email or tweet at me or whatever's easiest for you, and I can give you access to that template. And if you want to use anything from that, that's completely fine. But most of it is pretty basic. The only real big difference I've seen other people use with other templates that have developed similar things is that whole kind of, and I think this is a debate amongst many people who use lessons, the whole idea of, do you want to have lots of different pages along the left-hand side as navigation, or do you want one lessons page entitled modules with lots of subpages? So that's the biggest difference I see when I see other people creating templates as well. So if I flip back real quick to my first screenshot, you'll see along this screenshot along the left, we have a page for each week. I think, so our sister institution, Rutgers, the big Rutgers in New Brunswick, which is much larger than us, they have templates as well, but I believe they utilize just one lessons page that says course modules and then subpages. So it really depends on what's up to you. You can take stuff from ours if you'd like, but maybe something else might work better for you.
Okay, we had a few more other ones come in, and we still have a little bit of time. So someone asked, what about updating due dates for the new semester?
Okay, so this has had definitely growing pains as we discovered when we created the templates. If we have something like, I'm trying to find a unit page. Okay, so you'll notice here on the unit page that we mostly just have dates in one spot on the page. If you look at the assignments, we try to keep those just the assignment due dates as days. So instead of saying, oh, it's due Wednesday, November 4th, it's due Wednesday. So if someone's using the site in the fall and the spring semester and they're keeping basically the same due date structure, they only have to change the dates at the top of the page. For some of the sites that are more heavily used and need lots of updates, we even don't have dates on the top of the page. So those, changing the lessons page dates, we've kind of stripped most of the dates out of there. Changing the dates for the forums and the tests and quizzes and the assignments, that's definitely a lot of manual work that has to be done. So sometimes the instructors do it themselves, and sometimes my department kind of gets the back end of doing that, but that can be pretty manual. But if you decide to go the template route, definitely do not put a lot of dates in each of those unit or weekly pages, and encourage the instructor not to do it, because you duplicate it for another semester, and then there will always be a date that you miss.
We had a question that asked if you used the accessibility checker and the CK editor, and they provided a link. And I don't know if you want to respond to that one.
So accessibility checker in the CK editor, I'm not aware of that. So if you could get me the link, Corey, I will definitely want to check it out to make sure there's nothing we're missing, because that is one of the goals for the template.
Absolutely. I can actually put that in your info session resources as well in case anyone else is interested. I'll copy and paste that in there. And we had another question that was they turn off site info duplicate to duplicate the courses. Is there any way to import lessons from another site in your experience?
You can, in site info, there's that import from site option that it does allow you to import lessons pages from another site, but it's an all or nothing thing. So you get all of the lessons pages or you don't get any of them. So just be aware of that. But you can import from site and import lessons pages that way as long as the tool is added to the site.
Okay, and we had another elaboration. If there's time, can you give a brief overview of how to use CSS in Lesson Builder?
So I can. We don't use CSS, but in lessons, if you, I'm trying to think, I might have to switch my screen to something else. I'm just trying to get to some kind of site. Okay. So can you still see my screen?
I believe we can. Looks good.
Okay. So we're in the template now, and if you go into any of the lessons pages, in that little editing page area with the little cog icon, it does have an option to upload a custom CSS file. And I believe if you name it, it says it right there. If the file is named default.css, it becomes the site-wide default. So it becomes the CSS page for the CSS file for all of the lessons pages. The thing I don't like about CSS, and this is why I don't use it, is that it changes everything on the page. But if you go into edit that text in CK editor, it doesn't reflect the CSS changes. So I find that to be confusing for some people who might not be familiar with CSS and how that works. So if a faculty member, so say in this scenario, say there's a scenario where the CSS is making all heading 1 styles blue, and a faculty member says, I don't like blue. I want to make my heading styles a different color. If they were to go into the CK editor and change the heading to a different color and save it, it would look like they saved it until they went back out to the lessons page, and then the CSS would override their changes. So that's why I don't like using CSS with faculty, but that option is there under lessons, at least in our
Great. There was a follow-up to that, and it was, I know we don't have time, but I was hoping to know how to build a CSS file. In my experience with our institution as well, if you don't mind me contributing, it's something that I've done before, but it's not something I've done in a while, and it's not usually part of my job description. So we do have web guys, at least here at Marist, and I turn to those guys for that kind of thing, and they actually are looking into working on that. So I don't know this contributor, Mayaku Nakamura. I'm not sure where you're from, or if you have, I'll give them the classic name of web guys, but I don't know, Christy, do you have experience with that?
So I've done some basic stuff. If you want, there's kind of very little that the CSS can affect in the lessons pages anyway. So it's pretty basic what you can do. But it's nothing that we could go through in the time that's
right.
The time that is left. I'm trying to see if some of my junk sites have CSS on them somewhere, but I'm not sure off the top of my head.
Okay. Definitely appreciate it. That looks like that wraps up all of our questions. I think we're soap. I have one more comment that just came in. Linda Beth said we've struggled with the choice between having all 13 lesson pages on the course menu as top level pages versus a single lessons page with subpages. One is much more streamlined than the other, but may not be clear. What do you think?
So we personally have gone with obviously, having the most of the units available on the left-hand side instead of making things subpages, especially because in each of the unit page we usually have a subpage for the lecture. So why we do this is because I think when you get multiple subpages deep, sometimes students can feel a little bit lost. And like I mentioned early in the presentation, one of my goals in creating the template is to minimize clicking for the students. So with this, they only have to click on the unit page and then they're there. They don't have to necessarily go to a module page and then click in on something else and then perhaps click on something else. So when you get really multiple subpages deep, I think that can be confusing. And as long as you keep it, I wouldn't go really past what we have now as far as the number of lessons pages on the left goes, but if you can keep it fairly limited, I think it is easier for the students as far as navigation goes.
Fantastic. She said, good point. Alrighty. And then I did have one additional comment about the CSS files from Mayako. Just provided their from Illinois State University and provided their email. So I'll share that with you as well, Chrissy. I know my web guys are just dipping their toes into it for me, but a lot of it falls on my plate and I just haven't had the time to dedicate to it. So I should have clarified when I said my web guy, I know he's helping me out, but just because that's his specialty. So I don't know. I don't have a template or a base file to send you. I haven't used it myself. I don't know if you have, Christy.
Yeah, I think I only have some, I might have trouble finding them. There's only been files I've kind of like played around with. We haven't really developed anything seriously because I don't find it something that is useful for faculty. So.
Right, especially if you've hit all the little bumps that you mentioned when using them. So. Perfect. All right. I think that wraps us up. I'll go ahead and forward you that email as well. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. That concludes our session.
Thank you.